Hello, everybody. Hello again, and welcome to Marketing with Purpose. I am making a very valid attempt right now to use my podcast mic effectively so that way you can hear me well and I don't have to mess with the audio so much when I turn this into a podcast. So, today I am going to talk about a mistake, a common thread that I've been finding in these conversations that I've been having with my online fundraising bootcamp participants. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, online fundraising events bootcamp and registration ends tomorrow. So go on out to youmaycreate.com and register now. It's amazing. You're going to learn so much about running your online fundraising event. I know that I have learned so much about running virtual events from this opportunity. So now, as I have been going through these conversations that I've had with people, and I've had a number, I think I've almost had 10 already. So what I did was after the event, the live event, we reached out and we contacted our participants and we asked them, would you like to have a free 30-minute consulting session? And I did that because, first off, I want to hear what they have to say. I want to help them plan their events. And this really helps me. I'm an audio person, and hearing what they're facing helps me better understand how I can help nonprofits market themselves. And then also because it's kind of like after you have your fundraising event and then you reach out and you follow up with your donors and you say thank you, because these individuals are kind of like my donors, right? In a way, they're part of my audience and I serve them and I'm going to help them. So understanding what they have to say and what they're facing is a big deal to help me serve more people. Now, as I've been having these conversations, I've been noticing like this common thread, like this ribbon that's this woven in between a lot of the conversations. And so I keep sharing the same nugget or maybe like adjustment of perspective on repeat. And it's not that they're making a mistake. Like they don't mean to. And I do the same thing. Like I'll get really excited about something and I make this mistake too. So in this Facebook Live, in this podcast, I'm going to explain what the mistake I'm seeing is and how to keep it from happening. And then I'm going to tell you 2 stories from these consulting sessions that will help give you ideas on maybe how you can adjust your perspective for your nonprofit. So sometimes people make this mistake at the very beginning. Sometimes it's just already there. And then sometimes we actually make the mistake as we roll along and we're brainstorming and we're getting moving into the event. And nonprofits are not the only people that make this mistake. We don't just make this mistake in our events and fundraising, we make it in our marketing all the time. And business owners are constantly making this mistake. Now, the mistake that we're making can really determine the success of our event or determine the success of our marketing, because our marketing and our events, they're all made to do the same 3 things. They make relationships, they maintain relationships, and they build assets, right? Now you're like, okay, Monica, you've talked long enough. You need to let me know what this mistake is already. You want to know, don't you? Okay, so I'll tell you. It's losing focus of your mission. I know that sounds very, very simple, but it's not simple because we get wrapped up in the art of making an event fun, or we get bogged down in the planning and the physical things that we have to do to make an event happen. And we forget that we need to make it really matter. So business owners do this all the time. They do it all the time. So this is not something that, nonprofits are alone in. Like, for example, a business owner might say, we do online design. And then somebody comes to them and says, hey, would you design a magazine? And they're like, oh, well, yeah, if you're going to pay me, $50,000, I'll totally design you a magazine. But the thing is that they're just chasing this business because it pays, not because it's actually part of their mission, and not because it necessarily supports their core values or where they're moving as a company. They're just doing it because it pays. And it might just be like this one-off thing that they're never going to do again. So it doesn't make sense for them to do it. And one thing that I find all the time that people do a good job of not losing sight of their mission with or their values with is their logos. So think about your logo for your organization. If you weren't the one who made it, then if you spoke to the person who did make it, they would give you all the reasons why they made their logo that way. They would tell you all the reasons that they named their organization this name. The name and the logo, they have meaning behind them. And that's the same thing that's supposed to happen with your events and with your marketing. They have to have that meaning behind them so that way they can connect with the right people. Now, next, here's the challenge though. Here's the challenge. You're in the planning moments, right? And you're in these problem solving moments. The problem that you're trying to solve is, hey, I need to get in front of more people. I need to get more donations. I need to make sure that I maintain these relationships. And you're just thinking like, how do I do this? And then Monica's over here saying, okay, but you're making a mistake. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't problem solve. You absolutely should problem solve. And a lot of the times when I do the problem solving, I leave the value mission quotient and I make sure that it's in the back of my mind, but it's not necessarily the first answer to all the challenges that I'm facing. So when you're brainstorming, you're going to go through and you're going to think of all the stuff you can do and all the fun things that you can do to get people involved and get them to come to your event and get them to interact with you and get them to donate. And then after all of the fun of planning stops, maybe even just the next day, kind of let it all simmer and be really excited about it for a second because you were just wowing yourself. And that's like my favorite part of planning anything. I love the wow moments, when you're like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. Wow. But we're not wowing ourselves in like this completely competent state of planning, right? We're in an emotional state. So then we're going to move ourselves over to these moments where we're going to how ourselves. This is what my husband does to me all the time. He's like, well, Monica, how? What if? And I'm like, can we just wow for a second? Can we just be like really excited? So after all the fun of planning is done, you're going to ask yourself, does this speak to my mission and my values? And if not, can I change it and make it about my mission? That's the question that you're going to ask yourself. Eventually, if you keep doing it over and over again, you do become consciously competent and then competent at the skill. Like I found myself sitting back in a couple of these conversations and we were just rolling along and suddenly I hit this moment and I was like, oh man, we just veered off course. So let me give you a couple of examples of stories that I've come across in these last few days of my consulting sessions where we were making the mistake and then we regrouped and we worked to correct it. So the very first story that I have is a story where we were making this mistake at the very beginning. And the person I was talking to, they didn't even know that they were making the mistake at all. But I mean, from the very beginning, I knew that we were going to have to like redirect and move to another path. So the person that I'm talking about is Laura. Hi, Laura from Room at the Inn, if you're listening to me. So I was so lucky to get to talk to Laura because she is one heck of an amazing lady. Wow. I mean, like she teaches business over at Douglas High School, which is an alternative school in Columbia, Missouri. She is a board member for Room at the Inn, and she is so compassionate and so passionate and like just so motivated to support this organization and support their guests. Now, for those of you who don't know what Room at the Inn is, it is a nonprofit organization in Columbia, Missouri that through the winter months from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. takes in homeless people. She says that it is what did she call it? A damp shelter? Not like as in they're like it's raining in there, but like as in you don't have to be 100% sober to stay there. You can come in, and as long as you can walk in, then you can have shelter there. So they have a pretty important mission, right? And they're serving homeless people. They're like giving them breakfast, they're giving them a safe place to stay, they're getting them off the cold streets, which at times would literally kill them if they were out there. And they give them some basic needs things like socks and other things like that. And then they also pack them lunches to take with them the next day, so they're not hungry the next day, because being cold and hungry at the same time is just like a really bad thing. So when I started talking to Laura, she was like, Monica, I think we should do a concert, because we recently did a concert and it was really, really cool. And I said, how? What? Okay, that's fun. So tell me more about the concert. And she said that there was somebody that put it all together for them and had all the equipment, and they did this concert for them. And she's like, do you think we should do another one? And I said, well, I mean, how are you with producing a concert? What are your assets? What are your strengths? And we should do the things that we're really good at. And Laura said, well, I don't really know anything about streaming a concert, and I don't think I had the equipment. And I was like, okay. And in the back of my head, I thought, dang it, there has to be a better thing that they can do to connect with people. Because a concert, while it's cool, it doesn't explain the things that they do. They can while they're running the concert, and but it doesn't necessarily really tie in to the core values of Room at the Inn, which is caring, compassionate, like safety, providing for people at their basic needs. Like those are the things that they're doing over there that are so amazing. And so we got to talking, and I was like, Laura, tell me what you guys do. Tell me about this. And she explained to me about the sack lunches, that they were feeding these gentlemen or ladies sack lunches as they were leaving during the day. And that a lot of those individuals have they have mental illness. And so keeping them fed and keeping them out of a stressful situation allows them to better cope and allows them to better heal. And I was like, okay, wait a second. And I had this moment. So we started out with, we're going to do this concert. And I was like, this is just not the right thing. And then I said, what if we pack lunches for other people? And she was like really excited. We were both really excited, totally on board. So in the end, what Laura has decided that she's going to do is she's going to reach out to her church partners, and she's going to talk to them about basically being like her peer-to-peer fundraising partners to help sell the same lunches that they make for their guests at Room at the Inn, and distribute them to the congregations. So the congregation members can buy the lunch, and then they will pack the lunch and have it ready for them when they leave church the next Sunday, which is cool, because then those church members can experience that same thing. Like she is providing them with something that they need also to have a good day, a moment with their family. And inside of that bag, she can tell the story of someone else who also gets this same sack lunch, right? And then the second piece of that we thought would be amazing is if she just mailed out the sacks. Just mails them out with a letter to part or all of her mailing list. And she says, hey, guys, today take your lunch in this sack. Instead of eating out, go to Room at the Inn and donate. And then you're going to help other people. I'm like, okay, this is so cool, because that doesn't even require her to pack lunches. And I mean, that could be like $20 donations all over the place, because everybody knows that lunches are like $15 to $20 now. It's totally crazy. So this, I felt like, was an amazingly energizing conversation for me and for Laura both. And in the end, we took like what was not really a super greatly fitting fundraiser for them and thought of other things that they could do to fundraise and tell their story and make sure that it matched with their mission and what they do and their values in the same breath. So it was amazing. And the other thing that's so cool is that Laura was actually the winner of our marketing management fundamentals class for nonprofits. And she is going to have some of her students go through the course with her and help her with the activities. So I'm feeling kind of important right now because I'm not just like educating Laura in the class, but I also get to help her students. And man, that just makes me feel really good. I was like, that was just kind of a fated winner, right? Like when does fate hand you a winner that's like that deserving, right? So it was so awesome. Okay, so that was my first story, is when we're just stuck in the very beginning and we're stuck with an answer, but we just have a hard time getting out of our own space and finding these other opportunities that might better fit with what we're doing in our organization. Now, the second time that we make this mistake is as we roll along. So we're in the middle, we're going to plan this event, we're going to do this thing, and then we get it all together and we forget to make it about our mission. We forget to make it about our values. So one of the conversations that I had yesterday, and why, okay, so I didn't talk to Laura yesterday. So she was definitely my favorite conversation from Tuesday. But okay, so yesterday I got to talk with Ashland Schools Foundation. I got to talk with Susan, their executive director, and John, their board VP. And John let me talk about WordPress websites for a while. I geeked out so hard. I was so excited. And the other thing that made me really excited about talking to these folks is that they're planning a virtual 5K, and it's called the Ashland Monster Dash. Sounds like so much fun, my friends. I mean, like for real. They're going to have their virtual 5K and people wear costumes. This is one of my favorite things. Costumes are one of my favorite things. And they're going to run. Running is one of my favorite things with their family. And then they're going to have a costume contest. And we thought of all these really, really cool things that they're going to do. And we were just like brainstorming and rolling along. And we found so many cool ways that we thought that we might engage the people. Like they might have, you might encourage them to do group runs with their families. Their whole family could be in costume. They could set up like trick or treat stops in their town on a specific day at a specific time. So the people who are in their town could come and interact with them. Even like the idea of maybe their giveaway isn't a t-shirt. It could be like a COVID mask that's really, really fun and crazy. Like I made one for my husband that looks like a dinosaur and it has like a nostril on each side and like a huge set of teeth in the front. I was like, this is so cool. This could be so much fun. And actually Susan had already thought about doing masks. So I wasn't like telling her anything new, but we got so excited. And then we were like, oh my gosh, and the dogs and this online event could be so much better because now the dogs can participate in the 5K and they couldn't participate before because it kind of gets a little out of control with all the animals in the race. But then we could have a dog costume contest. And that's when it hit me that we had actually strayed. I was like, whoa, we went from family-centric fun run to dog costume contest. Like, I think that we made a leap here, right? So then my job as the consultant is to sit there and go like, how do we go back to make this about the Ashland Schools Foundation, right? Because it shouldn't just be a run. It's a run that is for families. I have a family and they're doing a family activity. Families go to these schools. It's about education, right? It's about supporting education in the Ashland Schools Foundation. All right. And we were all the way to dog costume contest, which, by the way, I was really excited about because I love the idea of dog costume contests. But I like I said, the light bulb went off in my head and I thought, whoa, I think we have deviated. And so I was like, well, then I asked myself that question. So does this speak to my mission and my values? And if not, can I change it to make it about my mission? So I posed that question to Susan and John. And I said, so can we instead of just having a costume contest for all costumes, maybe we have a costume contest for kids dressed up as teachers. Maybe if we have a dog contest, it should be about dogs doing smart tricks, like smartest dog trick. Something about educating your dog and training, right? So, how do we take these things that we had thought of that we thought were so incredibly cool and then flip them into our mission and make sure that we don't lose sight of the opportunity to educate people through our event and turn them into supporters and not just donors or runners in our event? And they were like, that is so fun. So it was great that they didn't think I was a complete nut job because I was asking them these questions. And if you want to sign up for it, it's ashlandmonsterdash.com. It's their 12th one. Yeah. And it's Halloween. Oh, I love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday. Okay. So, friends, the mistake that we do not want to make, not in business, not in our marketing, and definitely not when we're planning our events and our fundraising. We do not want to lose sight of our mission. We don't want to lose focus of our goals. The purpose of these events, of your marketing, is to make relationships and maintain relationships and build assets. And we want to make these relationships with people who have the same values as us, who will buy into our mission and know that it's something that our community can't live without. And when we saturate our events and our marketing with that messaging, we are not just making relationships, we're maintaining relationships, and then we're building the assets that really count, which are supporters for our organizations and for our businesses that support us for all the right reasons. I mean, so last story, and then I'll let you go, is I have to tell a story on Mike Kinata, who is actually one of my clients. Truman VA Medical Research Foundation. Always mouthful with that one. So he is doing a 5K, but he has no funds right now from his board to buy the tchotchkes to try to entice people to do the 5K. And we were like, man, this is kind of a bummer. He's like, but I have cups left over from last year that I can give away and sweatshirts from the year before. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, that's something. And then we came back around, right? Because we were like, can we even do this event? Because we don't have anything to give away. And then Mike and I were like, wait a second. This event is not about a cup. It's not about a t-shirt. It's not about a medal. It's about appreciating our veterans. Okay. So, all right. So it doesn't matter about the cup. And so we decided that he's going to do a video where he kind of jokes around and is like, so you know what, sign up for this 5K and I'll give you a cup because you want it, because it would make you want to run, a 5K. And then, but really we all know that you're not running. So you can get this amazing plastic cup. The reason that you're running is to support the veterans. It's not about the possible swag that you could get. It's not about the treats. It's about the troops. And so that's just the third story outlining where we honestly thought that we didn't have an event because we didn't have a t-shirt. How crazy is that, right? That's not why people are going to support him. So with those stories, with Room at the Inn, making lunches, with the Ashland Schools Foundation, turning and trying to make all of their contests about education, and with Truman VA Medical Research Foundation, realizing with them together, because I felt these things with them, that we could have an event even though all we had was a cup. That's awesome, because we were focused on the mission, and that is what really matters, is sharing that story, sharing your values, and attracting people for the right reasons. And that, my friends, is the mistake that you do not want to make in your events or in your marketing. So that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this, which will become a podcast episode on marketing with purpose. So if you have not subscribed to our podcast and you want to come hang out with me to listen to all the other crazy things that I talk about, you can go to mayecreate.com and click on podcast. And, it's got all the different episodes out there, or you can go to any of the podcast streaming like services of your choice and subscribe. And as always, well, not as always. I mean, I feel like it's as always because I've been talking about it now for like a few weeks. But the final day to sign up for Online Fundraising Events Bootcamp is tomorrow. We're going to shut the cart tomorrow. So if you want access to how to do your virtual 5K, how to do your trivia night, how to give value to your sponsors, man, I've talked about that so many times in these consulting sessions. There's just so many ways. And there are definitely answers for you in Online Fundraising Events Bootcamp. We have those templates for your emails, for your social media. And Jonetta is so sweet. She had a challenge signing up and she emailed me and I was like, okay, Jonetta, it's awesome. Just call the office and we'll get you signed up. And then as soon as she signed up, she immediately emailed me back and she's like, I'm already watching the content and I absolutely love all of the recipes and the templates. So thank you so much, Jonetta, for being part of this team. I really appreciate your support and the support of all of you and all of the conversations I've been having. So tomorrow's the last day. I hope to see you there and go forth. Market with purpose.